Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we should be live. Oh, let's see. Testies. Just making sure the sound's good. How you doing, guys? All right, we're good. How you doing, friends? How you doing? Hit the like button. Let's party. A stream that we decided to throw together last second in the blazing heats of Arizona. We are here. We're live, about ready to talk about a fight that probably never going to happen. A fight that straight hair. A fight that is very interesting. Jiri Prochazka takes out Glover Teixeira. Jiri Prochazka is your new light heavyweight champion. Jiri Prochazka is on top of the world, and we can't help but think of what could be next for a guy named Jiri Prochazka. Jiri Prochazka, light heavyweight. Does he stay and fight Glover Teixeira in a rematch? Does he fight a Jan Blachowicz? Does Jiri fight, I don't know, does Anthony Smith defeat Ankalaev and he moves on? Does Ankalaev win? Does he get a shot? There's a bunch of matchups that we can talk about there, but the most fascinating of the matchups that can be made is a man named Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya, who is the middleweight champion. Izzy is a man who went up to fight Jan Blachowicz. Didn't really work out too well for him. The style, not too good. The size was a problem. And Izzy took his first L in the UFC. So, right off the bat, when people were throwing this question at me and saying, hey, Mystic Moss, what do you think? Who wins that fight? I was like, well, that fight will never happen. And to be honest with you, there's like a 99% chance that it doesn't happen, because they're both managed by the same people. Jiri Prochazka going over to Paradigm Sports, and he's with Conor, he's with Izzy. They don't want these guys fighting each other. Now, other situations, other management teams have put fights together with guys that were managed by the same company, but so far when it comes to Paradigm, you don't really see that much. Izzy also put on his YouTube channel, how excited he was about Jiri winning and blah, blah, blah. So, this matchup is like a fantasy fictional matchup. Now, putting that all aside, you can't help but think who would win that fight. So I put in our live chat right now a poll on who you think would win that fight. I don't think the answer is that clear cut. Honestly, you could make arguments on either side. Izzy Weight has a shot, if he were to fight Jiri, to actually be the light heavyweight champion. Like, he has a legit chance at beating Jiri Prochazka from what I saw on Saturday night. Now, Jiri Prochazka, who choked out Glover Teixeira in a war 5 rounds, fight of the year, easy stuff. Is Jesse vacuuming now? All right, we got some vacuuming going on. Perfect time. Something must really need to be vacuumed. Anyway, Jiri Prochazka does look beatable in his performance against Glover Teixeira, but at the same time, Jiri Prochazka is a fantastic, fun, electrifying type of athlete that goes out there, looks to pummel his opponent, and now he's showing that he can actually submit his opponents. So what I want to do is this. I want to ask the community, the MMA Holes right now, in the live chat, what you guys think. Who's going to win this fight, as we're doing our first edition on the MMA Holes channel? Who will win? Here we go. Let's see what we got in the chat. Hey, I'm streaming here. I mean, what is going... My hair is unruly today. It's like, dude, it's just doing its own... Who cares? Never interrupt a woman when she's vacuuming. Just say thank you, honey. I mean, what the hell? Let's see. Is Izzy super technical and smart? Izzy is super technical and smart. Jiri makes a lot of mistakes. I got Izzy. Jiri is too big for Izzy, says Glove Touch. Jiri just have more power on his striking side. Okay, this is fascinating. Looking at the poll right now, and so far, we got 61 votes in. 33% of our community says Israel Adesanya would win. 67 say Jiri Prochazka is going to win. Now, at the end of this stream, I'm going to tell you who I think wins the fight, And I have to be honest with you, I'm pretty confident on this pick. It may surprise you, so stick around. Let's see. That fight would be insane. I would hope Jiri cleans him, but it's probably close to see days. Yes, it's that fight. Looking at the stats over here, Izzy is 32 years of age. Jiri Prochazka, 29. So Yuri's the younger guy. But, I mean, 3 years, you know, these guys are both kind of like in their prime section. Also, Izzy got a late start in the UFC, and Prochazka, 2 fights in, bang, he's a champion. It's pretty wild. The height, Izzy would be taller. He's 6'4", as Jiri Prochazka is 6'3". You know, height doesn't mean everything, but it just goes to show you that Izzy's not a small human being. He is 6'4", but does have a slimmer frame, so you do have to take that into consideration. And when he went up to fight Jan, getting taken down to the ground by the bigger guy could be problematic. When you look at the reach, they're identical, 80 inches for both guys. Izzy and Jiri, 80-inch reach for both. So if you think about that, you got to be like, wow, this is an extremely evenly matched fight. And you would have to think the matchmakers for the UFC, you got to be scratching their head and be like, hey, how do we get this management team to put this thing together? Israel Adesanya is not a massive pay-per-view draw. He's been on cards that have done well, but still, we haven't seen enough evidence that Izzy can be like Conor McGregor like when it comes to drawing pay-per-views. If you put him up against a Jiri Prochazka, a guy that's not a massive pay-per-view draw, but he's a champ in another weight class, you could market this thing back as double champ, the whole deal. Izzy still has to pass Cannonier, which is the next pay-per-view. So, I mean, we could be prematurely talking about this. Cannonier smashes Izzy, conversation's not on the table anymore. But let's just say Izzy surpasses Cannonier. That's what we're talking about. Jiri's just bigger than Izzy. Also, Jiri is hard to prepared for, but he's very beatable too. That's very true. Jiri got some racism deep in his blood. You think? Being bigger doesn't mean that Jiri wins, guys. Well, in actuality, Cinnamon, Izzy's the bigger guy. I mean, not heavy, but height. He's actually technically a bigger human being. Mike, I think you got him confused with Strickland. Izzy smashes Cannonier. I agree with that. I do think that Izzy's going to surpass Cannonier. I honestly think he's going to beat the shit out of him. Jiri makes too many mistakes. Izzy is too smart, but it would be close. Exactly. So, if you're just looking at technical striking, you have to think that Israel Adesanya is light years better than Jiri when it comes to what we've seen in the UFC. Jiri has made mistakes. Now, prior to the UFC, I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I'm just talking about the evidence that we've seen in the UFC. Within the UFC octagon, Jiri Prochazka has made some serious mistakes. Now, these mistakes have led to very exciting, fun fights. I hope he keeps on making mistakes. It's just incredible to watch. But a technical aspect, you would have to give the edge to Izzy. You would have to give the edge to Israel Adesanya. The guy goes in there. I mean, I'm not the biggest Izzy fan, but I respect what the guy does. The guy he's brilliant, and he doesn't take chances that he doesn't have to take. Like he's a smart fighter, right? Which leads to some fights being a little bit boring. But for the most part, the guy knows what he's doing in there. So if you look at technical, Izzy does win there. If you just break it down from technical aspect, Izzy has a little bit of an edge. Now you have size factor involved, more power behind the punch. I would imagine that Jiri has a little more juice behind the punch. So you go power, Jiri goes there. So you're kind of like balancing out. When you go to the ground, is Jiri the type of guy to always look for the submission? Well, from the last fight that we've seen, Yuri's got it in him. He submitted Glover Teixeira. So when you go to the submission aspect of the game, you're going to have to go towards Jiri Prochazka. Israel Adesanya, though, has been known to get his ass back up. He has been known to have fairly decent takedown defense for the most part, and maybe he could nullify that situation. If it's nullified and you're keeping it on the feet, does technical beat power? Fantastic things to think about. Fantastic fight. Once the magic got figured out, like Jan did, Izzy's magic did not work. Let's not talk about Guru. Yeah, I mean, come on, condom head. What are we doing with that guy? That guy is a peon. Can't be beaten. Izzy versus DIAZ equals war. Izzy versus DIAZ. What? If you're just jumping in, we're talking about Israel Adesanya versus Jiri Prochazka. Okay, we're trying to do, it's like a fantasy matchup. We're trying to figure out who would win that fight if the stars lined up and that thing came together. Yuri's just bigger than Izzy. Also, Yuri has hard to, oh, hold on. Yuri is hard to prepare for, but he's very beatable. Yeah. Didn't you just say that? I think you just copy and pasted and threw it in another spot. I almost thought you had a Goldberg tattoo on your arm, man. Can't tell what it is. Which one? I don't know. I want to see Izzy knock out Johnny Walker. I mean, Johnny Walker, he's got a lot of stuff to take care of. Someone brought up Alex Pereira versus Izzy. Excuse me, Jesus Christ. Someone brought up Alex Pereira versus a Yuri, and I like that fight. Pereira versus Yuri. I mean, yeah, if Pereira can beat Strickland and Pereira can, or Pereira, however you say the guy's name, can take out Izzy, which he's done before, it is interesting, but I think that might be even more premature to talk about. Moss, Izzy wins because he is more technical and he has better boxing skills, says Cam Joseph. Well, I didn't give my pick yet. I'm going to tell you at the end of the stream. But get your picks in on the poll. Right now the poll stands at this. We've got 80 votes in. Israel Adesanya, 39%. Jiri Prochazka, 61%. So we got Jiri Prochazka, the guy that naturally fights at the weight class, for the win. Am I going to eat? All right, I'm going to have a burger and talk to you guys. All right, we're turning this into lunch, a lunch conversation. Smash the like button, friends. Mega fight. If I'm Izzy, I'm pushing for this mega dig, says Kainoto. So, yeah, what would you do if you're Israel, right? You got to think there's a path to victory. There's a path to 2 belts. The problem is you're managed by the same team, and I don't know, like, I think it would be better if your management team has champions in every weight class. It just looks great, you know. Look, this guy's got a belt, that gal's got everyone's got a belt, you know. But when you have your guys fighting each other, it's kind of counterproductive. Now, you're getting them paid top dollar, but if you're fighting for the same thing, I don't know. Wouldn't you rather have all the champions, and then maybe you could say, all right, we'll have them fight each other. So, I don't know. I mean, if I'm Izzy, a massive payday, legacy, you have a chance to right the wrong of the Blachowicz fight, or you can go up and get destroyed. And, I mean, how does that really look? Good question. We got a burger here. We're going to have a burger. We're going to bite the burger. What are you guys eating for lunch? You having a little lunch? I do need a napkin, though. Conrad had some White Castle yesterday. If I was and do cardio while working off the bottom before fighting, hold on. You trying to say Izzy? This is from Ashley Batiste. If Izzy was and do cardio while working off the bottom before fighting at 205 again. So you're saying if he was working and doing cardio, so better prepared, I'm assuming you're saying? Drunk Savage's cousin's friend has, I don't know who that is. People give Izzy striking too much respect. He got outstruck by a slow in the mud Jan. Wow. Listen, I understand how you can be hard.
There are levels to this game.
I'm sorry over there. Tropic Tom came in. The donation was low here, but thank you for the donation. He says she simultaneously vacuums and hold on, let's play this again.
Wonderful.
She simultaneously vacuums and delivers a hamburger lunch. I give Pat Berry a lot of shit about grooming, but goddamn, there are levels to this game.
Well, in fairness, lunch was being put together already, and I just went live, so it looks good. She's a great wife, great mom, and thank you, Tropic Tom. You're a great member of this community. We're going to start a grooming channel, the MMA Grooming Holes, and we're going to teach you guys the tools to groom a nice young lady to become the perfect wife. Every single round, other than round 3, Jan won. Okay, so first of all, let me just say this. Jan is no schlub when it comes to striking. Jan's actually a surprisingly decent striker. The guy could fucking, and his kicks too. Jan knows he's a very intelligent fighter. He just so happens to have very good grappling as well. So to be kind of like shitting on Izzy for getting outstruck by Jan 184 and total strikes over 99. Do remember that there was 7 minutes and 6 seconds of control time as well. Some of those strikes we have to tally in on the ground where Izzy was immobile. So how many strikes were actually landed on the feet? You know, that's, you know, it take a little second to get into. But with that being said, Jan's a G, man. Jan is like a very well-rounded, well-balanced fighter, has very good striking, and that sets up his grappling. He's a good blend of mixed martial arts. So I can't really shit on Izzy for that. It just so happened when Izzy was getting to the ground and tired out by the bigger man in Jan, that's where the problems took place. Can Jiri do that to Izzy? Well, will Jiri do that? Or will Jiri just keep it on the feet? Like, is Jiri going to go into this fight saying, let me beat him up, try to get him down to the ground, and maybe I'll try to submit him too, where that is his weakness, the ground? I don't know. It's possible. Do you think Izzy knocks him out? Okay, so I know people are going to say Glover couldn't knock him out. He's got bombs in his hands. Dominic Reyes couldn't knock out Jiri, and he has bombs in his hands. So how the hell would Izzy knock out Glover?
Wonderful.
What about Kainoto? You donate, I chew.
Moss kidding aside, do you feel that it's a little suspect how Jiri takes so much damage yet is as fresh as a daisy even late in the rounds? He took massive damage versus Storm and wasn't breathing hard, same with Glover. Am I just being too tin hat?
He could be an alien. I don't know, I think that's a good question. I mean, he got popped a bunch of times. I'm looking at pictures of him celebrating afterwards, and you look at his face and you're like, did all that really just happen to him? I think some guy, like, look at Khabib, for God's sakes. Habib's taken some damage. Well, should have shown some damage, but never did. Maybe some people's skin is just like made of titanium steel. I don't know. I have no idea. Might be a little too tinfoil. But thank you, Tropic Tom, and thank you, Kainoto, for the donation. Absolutely wonderful, 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 wonderful. Thank you for the donations. If you're just jumping in, we're discussing Jiri Prochazka versus Israel Adesanya. If that fight were to go down, a battle to collide belts, what would you think? Now I'm looking in the poll, and it's floating around the same thing. We're almost at 100 votes now, and Adesanya is 39%, and Jiri Prochazka is 61%. So the consistency of the stream, most people are saying that Jiri Prochazka is going to win, and I get it. I might have a hot take on the situation when I give you my prediction at the very end of the stream, but stick around, you'll find out. Going to the point, do you think that Israel could knock out Prochazka? The answer is yes. He could. When Glover stunned on Prochazka, right, and Prochazka was stumbling, and Glover's like, hey, let's take this thing to the ground. A guy like Izzy's not going to do that. Even if it's late in the fight, Izzy will pounce, and Izzy will pummel, and Izzy would put him down. Now the question is, would Izzy's power be able to transfer over to the higher weight class and hurt Prochazka? It's a very good question, but I would say yes. I think his precision, I think his counters, I think his mind would put together situations that could hurt Jiri Prochazka. So it is not impossible for Jiri to be taken out by Israel Adesanya, who is a bigger man. Like, he's 6'4". I mean, he might not have the poundage on the body, but he's still a big human being. It's not like he's a small dude. He's actually technically taller. He's bigger than Jiri. So I want to ask you in the chat now, what do you think? Can Izzy knock out Jiri Prochazka? Is it possible? We all know that Jiri could knock out Izzy. I mean, I think we could all agree on that. And maybe you can't. Let me know in the chat. Let's see. Trust me, Jiri can't take Izzy's kicks and punches. So Cam is pretty confident that Izzy would be a big problem for Jiri Prochazka. Wow, Kainoto, 100% Izzy can take Jiri out. Bunch of fights for XMMA 5 just got announced. This is the Glove Touch. Yes, I did see that. Unfortunately, I don't think we can be working with them this time. We'll see what happens, but I don't think we can. Tropic Tom,
Wonderful.
a burger bite donation. Thank you.
I think Izzy is very motivated to take this fight after seeing Jiri put Glover in a 69 position.
I didn't think of it that way, but it's a good point. It's a good point. That didn't dawn upon me. The time you donate, I'm gonna take a bite of my sandwich. It's a donation for a bite. Thank you, Tropic Tom. Appreciate that. Yuri can't do this to Izzy. I'm not even a big Izzy fan either. Yeah, listen, I'm not like, people are gonna come onto the stream and say, wow, this guy's like up Israel Adesanya's ass. He loves this guy. No, I'm just trying to be realistic. If you've seen our previous streams, I've been hard on Izzy in a lot of situations. Here, I think there's a legit shot. I do. Now, who am I more of a fan of? Jiri Prochazka would be the guy. I want to see Jiri Prochazka sit at light heavyweight, keep on defending. I will watch him fight anytime. I will pay for every pay-per-view. I enjoy Jiri Prochazka 100%. I just think Izzy could be a problem in a fantastic matchup. I think that Izzy, out of guys at light heavyweight right now, when you're looking at these dudes, Prochazka is a guy that is incredibly beatable for Izzy's skill set. So I would imagine he's foaming at the mouth. Now, like we said earlier in the stream, the fact that they are managed by the same team, that plays a little bit of a problem. Is Diaz versus HELWANI official? I was hearing a lot of talk about it. No, it's not official. And honestly, as much as I would love to see it, I don't think it's going to happen. Izzy will submit. Imagine if Izzy, like, I mean, talk about like mind being blown. We were all like thrown off by the fact that Jiri Prochazka wound up actually submitting Glover Teixeira. Like, I think it blew all of our minds, right? It was a plus 25,000 to pick Jiri Prochazka by submission in the 5th and final round. That just shows how insane Saturday night was. Could you imagine, like, what are the odds that they actually make this fun fantasy fight happen? Jiri Prochazka, Israel Adesanya, and then boom, Izzy gets him like 5th round submits. Submits Jiri. Like, what are we doing here? It's like the greatest. You know what? It's still not as insane as what Jiri did to Glover. Like, even if Izzy, which is completely insane, if Izzy goes in there and submits Jiri, like, that would be crazy. But still not as nuts as Jiri Prochazka finishing Glover Teixeira by submission. Like, that is just, it's still mind-blowing to think about. If Izzy bulks perfectly, what happens, Moss? If he bulks perfectly, yeah, that's the problem too. I think that's the question. Like, moving up for Israel, can he put on more muscle weight that's not going to harm him, you know? Or is he going to come in thin again? That is a big question. Jiri struggles standing with a 43-year-old Glover, and they saying he can knock Izzy out. Left my ass off, says Amaya. Good point. Can't argue it. Can't argue it. I mean, it's a real point. Now, let's put a little respect though on Glover. Listen, he is almost 43 years old, but the guy is dangerous and he's powerful and he can box. Like, Glover, his idol was Mike Tyson. Like, the dude can box, Glover. It's not like he can't box. But, you know, when you look at the stage of the game, Izzy's a little younger by like 10 years. Yeah, exactly 10 years actually. And a technical striker. I see what you're saying. That would be a plus 10,000 Izzy submitting Jiri, says Two Fly. Glover couldn't submit Jiri. Izzy definitely won't. Is Izzy Izzy has knocked out kickboxing heavyweight. Hold on. Izzy. Oh, I'm reading it backwards. Izzy has knocked out kickboxing heavyweights. That's true. Yeah, right. When he was kickboxing, he fought heavyweight fighters as well. So Izzy's not. He's not like striking. He's fought guys that were bigger, you know, bulkier than him. Izzy struggled with Gastelum. Don't forget. Yeah, you know what it comes down to though with the Gastelum fight. I think timing and matchups, right? Like, I think Gastelum hit Izzy at just the right time. in that fight. That just, the stars lined up perfectly for Gastelum. I feel you run that fight back, not the same fight. I think Izzy's kind of dominates a little bit more, but I think it was just timing. I think it was Kelvin Gastelum. I don't know. Everything's just lined up nicely for Kelvin. In a rematch, Izzy would just destroy Kelvin, as much as it pains me to say. Izzy has knocked out heavyweights in kickboxing. Didn't see that. Shout out MMA-Holes, though. You're all the realest. Thank you, C. Amaya, thank you. Make sure you hit the fucking like button. We're going to go for like 5 more minutes over here. We're going to get my prediction in the fight. If you could hit the like button, I appreciate it. Thank you for the donations. Really appreciate that. We'll be live tomorrow with Tyler Randall from Bare Knuckle. Got some UFC fighters in the next couple of weeks coming on, so a lot of content coming your way. I think Jiri could beat him in time, but right now Izzy had too much experience and would see his flaws. So I think Jiri would beat him in time, but right now Izzy has too much experience and see his flaws. Okay, so look like you're leaning towards Izzy. By the way, responding to an earlier comment, the reason there are high views on fight streams but not others is because we have yeah, other communities, their viewers don't have jobs. I'd rather have a community full of people with jobs. Just saying, I think it's more financially smart to build a business off of viewers with jobs, because how you gonna get donations with people that don't work? You know what I'm saying? Good point there, Tropic Tom. Izzy gets killed by Glover, and I'm the biggest Izzy fan ever. Laugh my ass off. His ground and pound is too much. Very interesting. I'm gay for MMA. So T-Fly is gay for MMA. Too funny. All right, here's the deal. I'm going to look at the poll right now. I'm going to give you my pick. We have 125 votes. Israel Adesanya, 35% of the vote, picking him. It's moving towards Jiri. Jiri's 65%, getting the win in our fantasy matchup. I'm going to give you my prediction right now for the fight. That probably will never happen, but if it did, who I think would win at this stage of the game. If it happened before the year was up, who would Mystic Moss pick? As Israel Adesanya is fighting Jared Cannonier, I believe Izzy's going to destroy Cannonier. Izzy versus Jiri Prochazka. Let's talk about it. I spoke about it earlier. 32 years of age is Israel Adesanya. 29 is Jiri Prochazka. Okay, so you're looking at him. Jiri has the youth. Height, Izzy's a little bit taller. He's 6'4". 6'3" is Jiri Prochazka. Only an inch. Height usually doesn't mean much when it comes to matchups. I mean, it is what it is. Unless there's like a crazy height difference, but most of the time, reach is the thing to look at. When you look at the reach, they're both 80 inches. Both fighters, 80-inch reach, identical reach. So not much information. Looking at the gyms, I mean, City Kickboxing is for Israel Adesanya. You go the other way for Jiri Prochazka. Jets AAM Gym BR. Well, he won a belt with them, so I guess they're not bad. But I would have to go Gym City Kickboxing. The people that are coming out of City Kickboxing, I mean, we're talking like studs, champions. So City Kickboxing, the better coaching. So you got the better coaching. The reach is the same. Izzy a little taller, but Jiri's a little younger. Who are we going to pick here in a coin flip of a fight? As Jiri just comes off a big win over Glover Teixeira. Not only does, I mean, people are saying he was going to knock him out. He submits him. He shocks the world. He fucking submits him. I'm going to say this right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Mystic Moss would pick in this fight at light heavyweight. Will it stay and still and new? It would go. And new. Israel Adesanya would gain 2 belts. He would take out Jiri Prochazka, and he would be the champion. That's how it would work. The more I think about it before stream, the more I think about it after hearing you guys in the chat, Izzy wins. Now, I know I'm in the minority here as the poll is still going, 35%. But Izzy, for the win, lock it up. If those two fight right now, at this moment, at this stage of the game, 2022, I'm picking Izzy. Now, 2023, other things unfold, might go the other way. But where I stand right now, or sit right now, in my backyard in Arizona, Israel Adesanya will be a champion. If you're watching the replay, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'll see you tomorrow on this channel with Tyler Randall. Don't be an a-hole, be an MMA hole.